Hello everyone, I am Osman and today I will present you to ranking deployment strategies of EV charging infrastructure. Here we try to implement a modified AHP approach with multi-stakeholder perspective with my professor Seda. I'd like to start with an overview of the global electrical vehicle market to demonstrate the the number of public electrical vehicle charging stations. According to International Energy Agency data, in Europe, the number of EV charging points reached 165,000 5 years ago, and it is currently over 400,000. And in the United States, the total number has increased from 2,500,000 to 150,000. And in China, this number is over 1 million. And the ratio of fast charging points is also boosting by years. And it is also another important point. And for illustration of the EV ecosystem, there are many stakeholders, as you see: energy suppliers, energy distributors, charging points, e-mobility service providers, vehicle users, etc. And it's possible to consider the EV ecosystem mainly in two aspects. The first aspect is the energy generation and distribution side issued by suppliers and the distributions. And the second aspect is the energy service providers by various operators and agents. Electrical vehicles and charging points here are also a part of this ecosystem and related to both sides. And three questions important here. What to choose for a charging station in terms of equipment or a charging EV electrical vehicle in terms of battery type, etc. And where to place these charging points is another important question. And the coordination is the most important part of this for achieving an effectively working electrical vehicle ecosystem. And as previously observed, the electrical vehicle charging ecosystem includes many stakeholders, and the multi-stakeholders here may play different roles and contribute in different ways. And each stakeholder goal may be different and conflicted each other as well. Therefore, a couple of strategies should be made or selected that covers of all stakeholders' needs. And there is also limited research on the relationship and the priorities of these charging infrastructure goals from the stakeholders' perspective. And that's why we defined our research objective as prioritizing the EV charging deployment strategies through a modified AHP incorporating stakeholders' perspectives. As a problem statement, the effective planning and operation of EV charging infrastructure is one of the key conditions for consumers in order to promote the widespread use of electrical vehicles. It's a complex process that includes many challenges such as electricity supply and distribution, policies of governments and local authorities, technical specifications and standards for electrical vehicles and batteries, charging equipment. Information and communications technologies are related to charging management systems. And each of these components designed by various stakeholders with different goals and competencies. Therefore, it is important to consider the attitudes of different stakeholders in the development of charging infrastructure. Several current deployment strategies are being proposed to deal with these challenges, but it's not possible to implement each of these strategies in constraints such as high cost or implementation time. So we try to prioritize deployment strategies here with using AHP. The key stakeholders identified based on the literature search. These are electrical vehicle users, government and local authorities, charging station operators, charging station manufacturers and suppliers, e-mobility service providers. They can be explained as a providers which prepares a mobile applications for EV users. For example, where is the closest charging point and how can I get there? And electricity distribution providers also includes suppliers and distributors. Electrical vehicle manufacturers is inevitable here. And universities and research institutions are also important for the standard. Charging infrastructure goals, user experience, cost efficiency for both users and charging station operators, integration with grids and transportation networks roads, digitalization, sustainability, resilience, and safety. We designed a three-leveled hierarchical structure. In the top level, our main objective is the deployment strategy prioritization. In the second level, we define our goals as a criteria. In the third level, the deployment strategies, which I will explain later, that those 5 strategies. And our modified AHP framework here mostly relies on our first stage. The modification relies on the first stage, and the goal weights are determined by the experts by asking the assess relative influence or importance of each stakeholder on each goal. And here you can see above the matrix of stakeholder and goal. On the columns, you can see the goals, and on the rows, you can see the stakeholders. And cells of this matrix express the intensity of influence of any stakeholder in a row and on any goal in a column using from 1 to 9 scale. This is our modification to the process. But stage 2 goes on as a regular AHP, that pairwise comparisons of strategies against weighted goals, and the consistencies are ensured. Our 5 strategies you can see here. Mandatory charging we also defined these strategies by the literature and the experts. Mandatory charging infrastructure in the buildings, supporting distribution and smart grid systems, raising awareness on security and societal benefits, developing fast charging infrastructure, focusing on smart charging systems. We interviewed with the 15 experts, and strategies scored using pairwise comparisons for their effectiveness in achieving each goal. Let me illustrate more clear on diagram. On the first stage, the goal weights are determined by stakeholders in terms of stakeholders' influence on goal comparison scale. And all given goals here is a beneficial goals, and the values of the scale, that's why all positive. In the second stage, we measured the relative importance of the strategies on achieving the goals by pairwise comparison. For calculation of the weights, I will not go through the equations. I will go through the sheet in order to be more clear. Firstly, we normalize the scores of the goals by the experts depending on the row sums. Then the range of each goal is taken in terms of columns in the normalized matrix below. And the ratio of the total score of each goal to the range corresponds to relative importance of the goal. Here, in order to have a more important score for a goal, we assume that most of the stakeholders have an agreement on a goal's influence, and for a goal, in order to be important, low ranges are preferred. Finally, the weights are normalized in terms of row sum again. Here you can see the weights of the goals. Integration seems to have more importance and it's followed by the cost efficiency and digitalization and the sustainability. Global weights and rankings of strategies, distributions and smart grids and the smart charging systems are prioritized over others in achieving goals to the EV charging. The consistency ratios are here, especially user experience seems high, but in such cases, particularly in emerging fields or real-life problems like our study, slightly higher consistency ratios may be considered as an acceptable, or maybe further research may be needed. As a conclusion, we examined which strategies should be prioritized over to achieve the goals of electrical vehicle charging infrastructure development. And here, the smart technologies are important for efficient and sustainable infrastructure. Integration emerged as the most significant goal, highlighting the importance of grid connectivity as well. And the selected strategies and the weighted goal also consistent each other. And our framework demonstrates the value of the stakeholders' perspectives in decision making. And the limitation can be taught as an expert evaluation, sometimes lacked in holistic ecosystem perspective. That means some experts belonging to specific stakeholder category view the ecosystem problem from only its own perspective. So this can be misleading. And the sample size for expert pairwise comparison could be expanded in terms of inconsistencies, especially. And also an important future research area can be stated as the broadened stakeholder interaction analysis. If we need to explain, when we defining the goal weights here, we can also include the stakeholders' interactions each other, and it can be think as an important research field. And that's all for my presentation. Thank you for your listening.
Thank you very much. I just make a comment. If you go to the hierarchy, here, the hierarchy, yeah. You know, as I understand, you have the way that you have entered the stakeholders' points of view is by getting them to agree in what the weights or the criteria should be, right? Some, I don't know, what agree or voting on something. Another way that is typically done in ISAHP is that after the main goal, you have a level where you have all the different stakeholders. So when you address each group of stakeholders, they don't need to discuss with anybody else. They can just prioritize the criteria the way they want it, and the following for the next, and the next, and the next. And then you have another level of decision is who's more important, and that will depend on who is asking the question of prioritizing the charging. And that's the, I'm saying that's the most common way that is done in ISAHP.